I am excited to be chosen by the Libertarian Party. Actually, when Governor Gary Johnson asked me to be his running mate, it was deeply exciting. But I said there's one condition, and that is that we run to win. None of this moral victory stuff, none of this making a good showing. And he said, yes, that's exactly where I am. Then he said one other thing that I think you and our viewers would be interested in, because I've never heard of this before. He said, Jim, throughout the campaign, if you disagree with me, feel free to state your ideas publicly. That's the type guy he is. He's self-confident. He wants to get the right information out there and work on the right information. I'm proud to be his running mate, and we're going to do well.
You yourself are outspoken, aren't you?
Oh, not me. No, actually, as a former federal prosecutor, a Navy JAG criminal defense attorney, then a judge for 25 years in Orange County, California. But 20 years ago, I came out publicly as a press conference, which is rather unusual for a sitting judge to do, saying our nation's drug policy is not working and we must change it. And honestly, Governor Johnson did the same thing. And 7 years later, 1999, held his own audit, stood up as the sitting governor of New Mexico and saying exactly the same thing. He didn't have a constituency to do it, but he sees something is wrong, stands up, has the courage to change it. That's the type of man he is. I'm proud to be with him.
It seems that a judge is in the correct position to be able to distinguish whether the drug policies are working or not, because that is what you see.
All the time. And we say that we want to keep our children away from drug usage and drug selling. And the problem is that drug prohibition actually puts our children in harm's way. Why? Ask the first 10 teenagers you find, and they'll tell you the same thing they tell me. It's easier for them to get marijuana or even ecstasy, methamphetamines, if they want to, than it is alcohol. Why? Because the illegal dealers don't ask for ID. So that's the first harm. The second I would see in juvenile court routinely, and that is an adult drug dealer would recruit kids. And for $50 in cash, you can get all the kids you want, use them as couriers, lookouts, gophers, whatever. And then as soon as their reliability is established, they'll trust them to go out and sell small amounts of drugs in the communities. Why? They all make more money. Ask yourself this question. If you have a 15, 16-year-old selling drugs in his or her community, who are they going to be selling to? People like us? No, they're going to be selling to their 14, 15, 16-year-old peers, thus recruiting more children to this very lifestyle of drug usage and drug selling that we say we're trying to keep away from them, and it's caused by drug prohibition. You do not see high school kids today selling Jim Beam bourbon to each other in their high school campuses, but they're selling illegal drugs all the time. Couldn't do it worse if we tried.
Are you seeing more crimes being committed that are all drug related?
Oh yes, absolutely. People steal from burglars, burglaries, that sort of thing, to get the money to buy these higher priced drugs. And if you look at Switzerland, for example, who actually has a medicalized program for heroin users back in the late 1990s, where they could get a prescription for heroin, have it filled at pharmaceutical prices. None of these drugs is expensive. It's the only reason they're expensive is because they're illegal. So for a maximum of $10 a day, even the heaviest using heroin addicted person can satisfy their needs. Crime has gone down because if they shoplift, if they burglarize, they're off the program. They don't want that to happen. They experienced a 7-fold decrease in shoplifting, so they were very pleased. This sort of thing works.
Let's speak about the former governor of New Mexico there, Gary Johnson. Tell me about him.
Governor Johnson is experienced. He started his own company in the contracting business and turned this into a company that actually employed something on the order of 1,000 people. He has run for office twice in his life, as far as I know, and that was the governor of New Mexico. He's won both elections. This is his third election campaign, but he is, again, the most qualified person to be president that I know of. He left the state of New Mexico with $1 billion surplus, and he gets high records for standing up for liberty, for our civil liberties, such that, for example, he is adamantly against the Patriot Act, or what I call the so-called Patriot Act, which is a direct frontal assault on our civil liberties. Mr. Obama and Mr. Romney are in the same camp on the other side. Education. He understands education such that if you bring competition back, and you can only do that by allowing the parents to decide where and how their children are going to be educated. If they can spend the federal tax money by choosing which school their children will go to, it will have schools competing for children. That's good, and they will get innovation and will bring excellence back. Only Governor Johnson understands that. Mr. Romney, Mr. Obama don't even get close to that.
You guys' saying there is live free. Does that come from the Libertarian?
liberty works, freedom works, as long as what I do doesn't adversely affect you and your property. But we are going to be polling. This is critically important, and if your viewers would understand this. We can poll at 15% by the end of September, then we'll be a part of the presidential debates. There are already 3 of them scheduled in October, 1 for the vice president, by the way, and I just crave the opportunity to debate Mr. Biden. But if we're in there, all the rules will change. People will see that we're viable, and one of our major benefits is we're not Republicans and we're not Democrats. We will have people from all parties in our coalition government, and we'll be doing that on merit, so that if one political party actually, because today the Republicans and Democrats just don't want to work with each other because one of them might get credit and the other one doesn't want that to happen. But we'll have some in our administration so that if one party gives them some trouble, they'll go out and say, hey, come on, guys, this is a good idea. Get behind it. A coalition government will be brought in by Governor Johnson. Republicans and Democrats don't have a chance of that occurring.
How can people find out about your campaign and Gary Johnson?
Well, sure. Please just visit, because there's never enough time. Visit GaryJohnson2012.com, and you can actually see my website as well. It's JudgeJimGray.com. Gray is Gray. The ideas are there. We're not waffling. We stand for fixing this illegal immigration system. The others just talk. In fact, the Republicans and Democrats don't want to. If they'd wanted to fix it, they would have done it decades ago. We stand for something. You may agree, you may disagree, but you'll know where we stand. We are financially responsible. We are socially tolerant. We are the only ones in the mainstream of American political thought right now.
Thanks so much.
You bet. Good luck to us all.